Welcome to the Unraveled Podcast. My name's Alina.
And my name is Nina. And today I think we want to talk about communication.
Okay.
And the importance of it professionally, personally. And I think you said you have a story for us.
Yeah, and it's kind of short. I was showing a property and an agent, while I was at the showing with my client, the agent had texted me and just said, hey, we got a really strong offer. My clients went ahead and decided to accept it. I just wanted to let you know. And while we were literally still in the house, and of course we're like disappointed, but I just responded back and I said, hey, we understand. Thanks for letting me know. And she responded back by saying, thank you for your professionalism. And I was like, damn, that was professional.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes I think a lot of times when stuff like that happens, we want to be disappointed. We want to start yelling and kicking and fighting and screaming and being so upset about it. But realistically, like, what are we going to do?
No.
And I think it's important that you definitely keep your cool and you remain professionalism in every situation, because number one, it shows the other parties involved how you act and if they ever want to work with you.
Yeah. I actually have a story that is to do with this. It reminds me, it happened 2 days ago. So I have a buyer. We are under contract on a home and we were supposed to close last week, but there was a delay in the financing and I reached out to the listing agent. We were still closing. We just had to get it pushed back. So we pushed it a week and everyone's on the same page. Listing agent, the sellers, myself, the buyer, the lenders, everything's great. You get that extension, everything's happy. So a few days into the extension, I am at a property getting pictures done for a new listing. The lender calls me and she says, Nina, there's this person that called in. They claim to be a part of the listing agent's team and they've been screaming at me and yelling at me, but she's not on the contract. I don't know who she is. Can I send her over to you? And I said, you sure can. So she transfers her over to me. Well, I guess this person was related to the listing agent and a part of her team, but she was not on the contract. She had not really been involved in the transaction so far. She was just, I guess, covering for her while the listing agent was on vacation.
Sure.
She proceeds to interrogate me about why did you need this extension? Really pretty aggressive, almost screaming at me. Why did you get this extension? Can the buyer even qualify? Oh, this type of financing isn't good. I've been doing real estate since 1980, blah, blah, blah. My husband used to be a lender. I literally, after being like yelled at for a few minutes, I tried to explain, look, we're still closing. The buyer's fine. Financing is fine. We just need that extension,
Wait, was it a unilateral extension?
No.
Oh, so you had to get their approval on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we said we no longer need the 8-day unilateral anyway, because we're closing, but they were kind enough to give it to us because up until that point, everyone's on the same page. There were no other red flags to this property or this deal. So it makes sense for everyone to still close. But I guess she wasn't updated because she's not a part of the contract. She probably didn't know. She didn't hear that explanation. She didn't have the communication that I had given to the listing agent. And finally, I have about 3-4 minutes of her just like talking at me. I said, ma'am, there's no point in you arguing with me. I said, you are not on the contract. You cannot call the lender and ask for any information. She cannot give you that information. I cannot give you that information. I have no way to prove that you are who you say you are. And even if you are that person, you're still not on the contract. And I said, there's nothing that can be done. Nothing will be changed. We're closing on this date. Please stop arguing with me. And then she finally was like, oh, well, I'm not arguing with you. And I can hear the lender.
But you came in hot initially on the phone, so.
But it was just like as if we were asking for the extension that day when we were already all agreed to it days before. It's already been signed. It's already a done deal. I hear the lender in the back like chuckling at the whole thing. And after I got off the phone, I was thinking, number one, I kind of feel bad for her because she's probably bringing up her blood pressure. But thinking about the proper communication and professionalism is so important because
I agree.
I would never do something like that. Calling, number one, a client or another agent who's nothing to do with me. But just that level of entitlement and aggression for what? Even if there was something severely going wrong with the deal, that type of aggression is not going to be beneficial.
And it's unprofessional.
To either parties and to either side of the contract. And now every time I see her name, I'm going to think, oh, we don't want to work with her.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. I think agent to agent professionalism is just so important because I know we all work at different brokerages, offices, whatever, but the reality at the end of the day is we're all a team, because a lot of the times we end up in a transaction where we do have to work together as a team to get it to closing. And if there's so much bickering and arguing and aggression up until closing, we may not close because of it, because you can't, there's a lack of communication.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I think there also needs to be boundaries set as well. And people need to learn that, whether it's a client or a potential client or other agents. And there is this lady who she is trying to become a client of mine. We are not, nothing's been signed. She will call me 11 p.m., 10 p.m. at night and be upset that I'm not answering the phone. And we've not ever worked together. I don't even know if I want to work with her. And I'm just thinking, lady, you're getting yourself riled up for no reason. I'm not taking your call at 11 p.m. If you were a long-term client, would I?
Possibly.
Yeah. Possibly. If I'm not already
But there's
sleeping.
no relationship there.
Correct.
So.
And I just think, it doesn't bother me anymore, but it makes me think some people, they really don't understand boundaries or rapport or just common sense.
I agree.
Professionalism.
I've definitely dealt with that before with clients and other agents and numerous different things. And at the time, when I was younger and I had the time, I didn't really have much of a personal life. I would answer the call. I would answer the phone at 1 a.m. I didn't care. But then, growing out of that habit and, growing into having a personal life and wanting to do other things, I can't answer the phone, and dating as well. I can't answer the phone at 1 o'clock a.m.
No.
So.
No, it's just too much. It's too much. And also, people, other agents, let's say specifically, I think it's important that they understand how to do their job. Basic professionalism, how to write a contract, how to not make errors. Today, I've received an amendment that everyone's agreed to. 5 times it's been written incorrectly. 5 times.
Because you're rushing and not paying attention to what you're doing.
And it's not even big errors. It's just little things that I'm sending it back because now I'm protecting your client. Because, the seller would gladly sign this, but it's not what everyone agreed to. So it just, if somebody's looking to buy or sell, it really matters who you hire. You have to make sure they're professional, they know what they're doing, because that is not always the case across the board.
I had one situation a couple months ago where I was dealing with an agent. We didn't have a good personal relationship. We were friends previously, and then we weren't friends. And unfortunately, I won't say unfortunately, fortunately, I actually had 2 transactions with the same agent on her team, and the transactions were going fine. They went very, very smooth. At one point, she had to get involved and called me, and we were kind of talking it through. And I was very professional. And then she kind of started making the conversation personal. And then that's when I kind of started getting annoyed and heated. And I was like, hey, let's try to keep, the situation that we're talking about at hand. And it just got way out of hand because it went from a business conversation to a personal conversation that, number one, I didn't have time for, didn't want to discuss with you. You could have discussed with me months ago, but you're choosing now to discuss it with me because we have a transaction together. Come on. So.
And to be honest with you, there's going to be so many people that through life experience or dealings, we realize, wow, we really I will not be friends with this person, or we can't be friends.
And that's okay. I will still have a business relationship with you.
Exactly. It doesn't mean that we cannot work together, that we can't help clients, that we can't move the business forward. But then you have to understand the relationship is strictly professional.
Agreed.
We will not be besties.
Yes, you have to learn to separate the two.
But a lot of people don't know how to do that.
Agreed.
So, I think it's easy enough to separate business and personal, but maybe some agents or newer agents, they haven't had that skill.
Sure.
Maybe they haven't learned how to do it. I don't know, but it definitely affects the deal.
No, I totally agree.
For sure, because when emotions are involved, then I personally believe if an agent's emotions are there, they're not representing the client in the best way they can. So I have another situation where I'm representing the seller. We have a great offer on the property. It's land. It's an old house. And they have due diligence period. They wanted to schedule about 5 different inspections. But they didn't want to tell me when they were going to be or who was going to be on the property. And the seller has the right to know who's going to be on his property at when and what time. So I reached out.
Because he also has to coordinate around that.
Exactly. So I reached out, and the other agent gave me pushback saying, we don't need to tell you. And I said, And they said, oh, it's the buyer's due diligence. I said, That's correct. But the seller's property rights supersede the buyer's right to due diligence.
Correct.
Finally, eventually we got all the information we needed, but it was like pulling teeth for 2.5 days.
But why be so secretive? At the end of the day, you're both shooting for a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
So why be so secretive about what inspections you want to have?
Well, I think at some point for her, it was more like she just wanted to be right. She wanted to be right, even though she was not. And so she was just holding fast to what she had told me. And I had my broker contact her broker. And I'm like, why do we have to go through this? This is a whole mess.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And another thing too that I value in agent-to-agent communication is when both parties realize there's a common goal and you can easily work together to accomplish it. There's been plenty of times where like I'm on the phone with the agents and we're both trying to figure out how to make both of our clients happy to get to the closing table, and whatever that looks like. Sometimes we both had to reduce our commission. Sometimes we've both had to do things after closing to make them happy.
Yeah.
Like it's just at that point, it's literally whatever it takes to serve our clients and do our responsibility of representing them.
100%. And honestly, there's some agents that I will see an offer come in and I am hoping that we get to work together again.
Yes, I'm the same way.
Because it makes the deal easy, smooth, and fun.
And you know they're going to do their part.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter if we run into obstacles or challenges or maybe something comes up on the inspection. It doesn't matter because both people, they know how to problem solve. They know how to communicate. We're not against each other.
Agreed.
We're team working to get to the closing table. It is night and day versus working with an agent who is like the enemy. They don't want to tell you anything. They don't want to communicate.
Agreed. I have so much love and value for a Class A agent who is that really does their part and not only represents their client, but again, realizes that this is a teamwork and we're both going to do what it takes to make both of our clients happy. I have so much love for that.
And I do a lot of listings, and there are so many times where we might get multiple offers. And if I know that an agent is good, that is part of the feedback that I give to the client in addition to the terms of the offer. So what people don't understand is by hiring an agent who's excellent, you're increasing your chances of getting your offer accepted just by that agent's reputation.
Agreed.
And work ethic.
Agreed.
And everything. If you just hire any Joe Blow, you might be doing yourself a disservice because I'm going to look at that offer and see Joe Blow who either screwed me on the last deal or who I've never heard of before versus someone who I've worked with 15 times, I know is excellent. Their offer is excellent, and then give the seller all that information, and from there they will choose the offer. Agreed. So,
and with that also, an agent relationship, it's very helpful to work with a good agent who does have a great reputation because a lot of the times you're going to get off-market listings before they even hit the market because we all text each other, we all communicate and let each other know when we have listings coming up because we're sharing the listings with the agents we want to work with.
Absolutely.
That we know is going to bring a solid buyer.
Absolutely. And the agents you want to work with, they get advantages too. Like, for example, I will do a private open house just for a select group of top tier agents. I'm not inviting everyone. I'm only inviting those people who I know probably have those types of clients.
Exactly.
I would want to work with anyway. I mean, I have 3 deals that are closing off market right now because of a relationship I built with another agent. Yeah. So it's very important. And being right, having your ego, all that, you have to understand you're losing opportunity by focusing on that instead of focusing on working together as a team.
Agreed.
Being willing to maybe make a concession here or be wrong here or apologize here or communicate or do something, hey, no problem. I'll fill out that side for you. Like little things here and there.
Right.
But no, people won't do it.
And it's only hurting themselves and their business and their reputation.
Yeah. What do you think about the times where the deal is about to fall apart, but for such a silly reason, and you wish you could reach out to the other side and say, hey, why don't you just not coach your client, but why don't you guide them in this way? Because this is a very easy solution to solve, but the whole deal crumbles because that agent doesn't know how to problem solve.
I have had that happen so many times, but the first time I had it happen, I remember it so vividly. I had clients that were in town for a specific weekend. They were looking at lake houses. We put something under contract. They were paying cash. And we had a home inspection done. We went to the agent and was like, hey, they want this and this done. We're talking about maybe $500 worth of repairs. So I go to the agent. They're like, hey, they want this stuff done. Like, we're closing in 2 weeks. It's a cash transaction. And I'm like, hey, they want these things done. Again, like $500 repairs. The agent's like, no, we're not doing any of that stuff. So obviously I go tell my client, hey, they don't want to do any of this stuff. And the client's like, I don't have time for this. Just terminate the deal. Agent comes back. Hold on. We'll fix the stuff now. That should have been your first response. And I didn't know for me, I didn't know my client was on the edge of, just terminating. Because normally what I would do is I try to let it work out between the seller and the buyer and the seller first to see what happens. Yeah. And if they can't come to an agreement, then that's when I'm like, me and the agent should step in and try to figure out how to make it work to make both parties happy. Rather that's like one of us pays for the repairs, or we split the cost, or get a home warranty, or whatever. At that point, then we're putting our stuff. What am I trying to say?
Help me out. I mean, at that point, you're basically coming together, whether you have to pay for things a little bit or, do some of the work to make both sides happy.
Yes.
Like kind of you're the problem solvers,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not that hard to do. I had somebody terminate on a listing because the HVAC system needed to be serviced. And the seller was like, it was a personal situation. They didn't have time to do anything. They said, look, we'll give you a credit. We'll give you a home warranty. I mean, they were giving them far much more than whatever this $300 service would be, because the system was pretty new. But because it wasn't the service they wanted,
they terminated.
And I talked to the other agent. The other agent said, oh, well, they just asked for a service. I think it's... I said, do you understand that a home warranty covers that, but then also another $3,000, you could get your HVAC system serviced 30 times. Not quite, but no, it didn't click. And luckily we got another offer that was better. We're going to closing, but that buyer missed out on that great property
because their agent didn't know how to communicate with them.
Because their agent didn't know how to tell them what a home warranty was or what a $3,000 credit could do. Just because the seller didn't have time to do an inspection, a service.
And it's funny because I've been in that place before where I didn't know how to communicate, or I was more concerned about what my client thought instead of being the person to educate my client and explain to them how the process works. Yeah. I've lost multiple deals in the beginning of my career because I was just so agreeable with my clients, and they're like, oh, this house is overpriced, or this is going to cost, tens of thousands of dollars. And in my mind, I'm thinking, no, it's not. I had that done last week for $1,000 for another client, or this house really isn't overpriced. I was just agreeable. And I was like, yeah, you're right. We shouldn't make an offer, or, we shouldn't, they're wrong for not getting this stuff fixed for, thousands of dollars. And really, instead of me doing what I was hired for and educating them, I was just so agreeable. Yeah. But I'm at the phase now in my life where I've been doing it for a lot longer that I know if I cannot educate you and, give you, what's what I'm looking for?
The value that you need.
Then what am I here for?
Yeah.
You didn't hire me to be agreeable. You hired me to get you to the closing table and find you a home that's suitable for you. So if I can't do that, then I am not worth my commission at all. And I'm not, why did you hire me?
Yeah. And also, at the end of the day, you can't tell a client whether they should or should not buy a property. What the value is in that property to that client, it could be more or less than what they're paying for it, depending on their situation.
I agree.
But our job is to come forward and say, these are the pros and these are the cons. These are the market conditions. This is typical for this area or typical for this market when it comes to prices of homes.
Correct.
I have so many deals right now to where the buyers are asking for some concessions, and some are crazy and some are reasonable. And I will tell my clients straight up, no, this is crazy. I would not do this if I were you. I said, you can, but we have backup offers. So you're fine. Or there's another client where we just got one offer, and I told them this is reasonable based on the inspection report, and we don't have any other offers at this time. So you guys could choose not to do it, but currently we have no other interested parties, and kind of just paint the picture for them, let them decide.
Agreed.
But so many times agents will just say, no, no. And at the end of the day, you end up hurting your client more because let's say you terminate, you go back on the market, eventually the offer you get is so much
The
lower.
same one you declined. Or yeah, that too.
Usually. And so then I'm thinking you really actually cost your seller a lot of money.
And
or your
time.
buyer. Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
So it drives me nuts. Happens all the time with agents.
I know, it does, unfortunately.
We almost need to have like a real estate for dummies class.
That's honestly not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all.
But I mean,
I'm so sick of the same thing over and over again.
It really is. It's the same thing consistently over and over again. And I want to tell agents that, first of all, you can't be a people pleaser. You can't just be a yes man to whatever the client says.
Correct.
Remember I told you a few months back now, there was a house that was overpriced. So I listed a house, and then a week before listing, the seller wanted to list it for a crazy amount more. Sat on the market for ages and ages, didn't sell. Finally, I fired that client. Mm-hmm. Well, they relisted it.
At the price you told them to initially?
No.
Oh
no. I wish, for the sake of that agent, they relisted it with a male agent because that client was misogynistic. And it's for higher than we originally started at. And it's been on the market now for 60 days. So sometimes you can't fix crazy. You can't. Like, there's sometimes where it's just like, look, it is what it is.
But even me as an agent, I'm not going to go waste my time when there's clearly not a possibility of us like coming to an agreement or getting on the same page at all.
Mm-hmm. I heard an agent say this to me the other day, and I thought it was pretty spot on. There was somebody who he was talking to about selling their property, and he told them the value was in the 300s. And they wanted to list it for like $100,000 more. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe if you give me a listing agreement for 10 years, I'll list it for this amount that you want. And I thought that's a good way to put it. Because, I mean, maybe in 10 years it would sell for that amount, but right now it's not. Well, they listed with another agent for in the 400s. There's no way.
It's going to sell for that
There's
amount.
no way. I mean...
So then you as the agent wasted time and marketing and money doing all of that when you know it's not going to probably sell just to get the listing.
Yeah. And so sometimes that's a strategy that people take for free marketing. But
I have seen that too.
But 9 times out of 10, if someone's really busy, you don't have time for that nonsense. But
I also don't want to be the agent that's known for overpricing
all
of her listings.
No, that's why I always talk about it. If there's ever a property that the seller made me overprice it, I share about it and I tell people the story because it's a cautionary tale, both for an agent to not work with a client like that, but then also for a seller, what happens when you overprice a property. But
sits on the market, doesn't sell.
It's all about communication.
I agree.
Well, I think that's all our time for today. Thank you for joining us. We will release a new episode every Wednesday. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on social media. Thanks for watching.